So, in every TierZoo video, Chavez and I talk about the fact that TierZoo really needs to start considering aesthetics, okay, in his ranking system. And then he came out with this video and he just very clearly did not do that.
He clearly considered it. Centipedes are really freaking cool.
Centipedes are gross.
Look at his little segmented body.
Anyway, today we're here for TierZoo. Are centipedes OP?
Yeah, they eat things that you wouldn't expect them to eat. I think they have like some kind of venom or something.
Yeah.
Maybe like a poison or something. They crawl really fast.
And they really miss Payless because they gotta put shoes on all their feet.
How long were you waiting to say that?
I just thought of it just now.
We're gonna move on to the video. Thanks for joining us yet again. And let's learn about different kinds of centipedes that I don't know the names for. Yeah. Kill him.
Leave, buddy. Oh.
Yeah. Kill him.
Homie didn't stand a chance.
Centipedes are without a doubt one of the most terrifying builds in the entire game.
Yeah, they're awful.
They're also one of the oldest. They're part of an ancient lineage called myriapods, which were the first builds to ever unlock the ability to breathe air, way back during the Silurian expansion.
That's cool.
Their many legs and venomous fangs make for a fearsome display for any player looking to challenge them in combat.
Look at that angle.
But has their ancient strategy held up in the face of the immense power creep the game has seen? Is having dozens upon dozens of legs much of an improvement over just having a few? Let's take a closer look at the stats and abilities of centipedes and millipedes, and ultimately decide where they fall on the tier list.
Oh my god, it's a
I was getting ready to say, like, look at the centipede in the middle of the screen.
Oh my god.
But also, isn't the millipede super cool? Isn't that the one that you can keep as a pet? You know how cool it would be to have a millipede pet just like on my desk, kind of walking around?
I would divorce you.
You could feed it little bugs.
I would leave you.
I kind of want one like right up there.
I will leave.
Right next to our wedding photo.
You and the millipede can be very happy together.
Yeah.
Without me. Our myriapods.
First, let's take a look at their stats and abilities. And for this section, we'll show both the centipede and millipede base stats.
Makes sense.
Both centipedes and millipedes have solid defensive stats. They're both part of the arthropod faction and inherit the exoskeletal armor perk, granting them dramatically higher base defense compared to similarly sized soft-bodied varieties, such as slugs or velvet worms. Their chitinous exoskeleton can deflect most basic attacks from players at or below their weight class. There is a meaningful difference between the two on this front.
Okay.
Though. Millipedes have interlocking articulated plates, leaving essentially zero gaps in their armor other than on the underside where all their leg joints are. Centipedes, on the other hand, do have gaps in their armor, particularly in between segments on their sides between their legs. Unlike millipedes, which have their leg joints attached on their underside, centipede leg joints are located on the side of the centipede.
I never knew that. I never knew that difference. I low-key kind of just thought the difference between centipedes and millipedes was like, one was way longer.
Why did he put the sounds of the feet in the video?
Millipede ASMR.
Right, like we didn't have to hear.
Making these weak points much more difficult to defend.
Oh my god!
This results in a much higher defense stat for millipedes. But the trade-off is pretty obvious when you look at their other major difference. Their mobility stat.
Yeah.
Millipedes have a speed stat that is only slightly higher than that of a snail, which is incredibly low given that snails don't even have legs. Centipedes, with their less restrictive armor, are some of the quickest moving arthropods in the game, able to quickly weave in and around cover and scale walls in record time.
Oh my god! Are you okay?
Yeah.
Makes them tough to pin down. And because of their flat shape, they have a very easy time running for cover if threatened by a player in a higher weight class.
He literally just
But of
left.
course, the primary reason they're invested in a higher movement speed is because it synergizes well with the last major difference they have for millipedes, their power stat. Millipedes have no offensive moves at all. When confronted with an adversary, millipedes will respond by attempting to lock down their defenses even more tightly than they already are, in hopes that the aggressive player will simply give up. They'll curl up into a ball in order to guard their already small number of weak points, and may also begin secreting noxious and or toxic chemicals to dissuade persistent predators from risking poison damage. Centipedes may attempt to curl and take some hits, but more often than not, they'll opt to either flee or rely on their powerful offense to substitute for a lackluster defense.
Violence.
Now, why did that scorpion decide to start smoke with the centipede? The centipede was minding his own business.
Aren't scorpions incredibly stupid?
I don't know. They're bugs, so I'd assume so.
I'm pretty sure they're just real dumb. They're just like, I'm a spider. I look hideous. I will kill you. He's
not a spider. Please don't say scorpions are... Please. I can't. I read the comments, you know.
Little spider boy.
He's not a spider. He's not. We know that scorpions are not spiders. We got it. Then? I know the rage is like it's already started. You've already started your angry... Stop.
Okay, I said, what are they then? If not spiders, what are they? Look how many legs they have.
They're little spiky boys.
Let's come up with our own classification. The guys who like facts are angry.
The centipede's jaws, which are really their two front legs, have been modified into hypodermic daggers, able to pierce armor and inflict venom to deal devastating damage. The rest of their stats are pretty similar, as most myriapods sport fairly generic mid-level camo. Nothing too impressive, but enough to beat the average player's passive perception as long as they remain motionless.
Okay.
Both centipedes and millipedes sometimes sport vibrant aposematic coloration as well, forgoing stealth and replacing it with intimidation, flexing how toxic their poison or venom is. And as a fairly ancestral lineage of arthropods, it's no surprise their intelligence stat is quite low, as they were introduced to the game during a time before intelligence builds were even remotely viable, and have opted to refine their core strategy, rather than respec into a higher intelligence build.
Who needs brains?
Unfortunately, this locks them out of the higher level perception perks like binocular vision and compound eyes, forcing them to mainly rely on their most basic options for detecting enemies, like simple eyes, chemoreception, and tremor sense. As far as other unique abilities go, myriapods don't have all that much.
Right.
This is a little unfair because when they were first patched into the game, their most important unique ability was their ability to breathe on dry land.
Right.
However, as the game's meta has progressed, air breathing has become one of the most common abilities in the game, making myriapods much less unique, and honestly a bit obsolete. One other special ability they do have is auto-mimicry. It is quite difficult to tell at a glance which end of a centipede is the head, as their back end also looks almost identical. In fact, in some ways, the back end even functions as a head, as it also has highly sensitive structures similar to antennae. The reason this matters is that the best way to disable and defeat a centipede is to attack its head first, before it has a chance to respond. If an attacking player has a 50% chance to accidentally attack the wrong end, that gives centipedes a chance to counterattack for massive damage, or escape.
Damn.
So those are the base stats and abilities of the myriapod. But how do these traits actually stack up against the current meta?
Right.
I will never forget my first science teacher in middle school making fun of me because I asked, how do you tell the difference between the head and the butt of some of these animals? And it wasn't until I was in high school where I learned no, they do that shit on purpose.
Right.
It's not just me not being able to tell. You can't tell either.
Right.
You also didn't
Wait,
know.
what was his answer?
Oh, they just laughed it off you can't tell the difference. I mean, the front's got eyes and a mouth. They look the same.
What's the word that TierZoo just used? He just used it to talk about
Mimicry?
Auto-mimicry?
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't know about auto-mimicry, you loser teacher.
You sure didn't.
You didn't know about that because if you did, you could have explained it.
You would have just said it.
You were bad at your job.
The worst part about teachers
person
who don't know
quit
answers to questions
on life,
and instead make you feel bad about
just
them.
Stay home.
Is they do terrible things to your ego.
Get out of here.
Because now I feel unstoppable.
While their stats seem solid at first glance, the game's power creep has severely limited their viability. Expansion after expansion, the devs have expanded access to the myriapod's formerly exclusive abilities, and introduced new abilities to the game which function as counterplay options against centipedes and millipedes, allowing newer builds to more efficiently exploit their weaknesses. For example, the introduction of the beak attribute dramatically improved the bird build's matchup against centipedes.
I guess you're right.
As the disjointed hitbox makes the risk of a counterattack less of a concern.
Bro, birds beating things on the ground will never be not funny to me, man. Because a bird doesn't look like it has any emotion when it does it.
Right.
I'm just getting the work done.
Yeah.
As the disjointed hitbox makes the risk of a counterattack less of a concern.
I take no joy in this.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first discuss the centipede. The centipede's bite is one of the strongest in its weight class, enough to make some snake mains jealous.
Damn.
Compared against the power of a scorpion's sting, The bite has higher raw damage and armor-piercing potential,
but no venom.
but weaker venom.
Yeah.
By itself, this makes it one of the most formidable attacking moves in the entire arthropod faction. So with that in mind, the viability of the centipede really comes down to how reliable the rest of the centipede's game plan is at enabling the use of this vicious attack. And unfortunately, this is where the cracks start to show in this ancient foe's game plan.
God, you're done.
When this move connects, the damage...
He's wrapping him up like a gift. Oh, shit. Bro, losing to a spider must be the worst feeling, bro. He's jujitsuing me. Yeah. He's folding my body, and I don't want it. Rolling.
When this move connects, the damage it deals is devastating, but landing a strike with the centipede's bite is easier said than done. For starters, while the centipede's base movement speed is quite solid, it lacks the surprise burst mobility that so many predators rely on. Centipedes just sort of scurry around, hoping that they'll eventually catch their player off guard.
Wait, what?
But as long as you remain vigilant, centipede attacks are about as predictable and telegraphed as they come.
Oh, no.
Centipedes have pretty low stealth and make no attempts to conceal themselves as they approach a target. So as long as your character's passive perception is halfway decent, you should have plenty of opportunity to react and escape before they get within striking range. Their poor vision also undermines their ability to pursue prey as they flee, even though they easily have the speed to chase them down. The only mistake players commonly make is attempting to stand their ground and fight them off, rather than taking the easy way out and fleeing before they can deal any damage.
Like when a jujitsu person decides to stand in the ring with a knockout artist.
Yes, and you can tell in the round when they get popped with like a jab and they go, "Oh, we're about to box," and the corner's like, "Take him down, please,
go for the double leg."
And he's just out there. I want to fight him so bad. Go for the desperate armbar at the end of the round, just getting cracked in the face.
And it's so funny because I really hate when jujitsu guys just go straight for the jujitsu.
Yeah, right.
But then whenever they don't have good boxing, I'm like,
working,
you should have just gone for the jujitsu. Just do what you know how to do.
And then I love when you watch those like highlights and that the slow motion punches you thought missed. And you're like, oh, you were getting hit the entire whole time.
Yeah.
That guy didn't miss your face.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Play to your strengths.
Yeah.
If your strength is fleeing.
Right.
Flee.
And that's also why some fighters go in the ring, right? And then they're up and they just do this for 2.5 minutes. They go, I'm not going to win. I'm not here to win. I'm going to punch? No, I'm not. I'm just going to come back here and pretend to fight you because I'm not going to win a fight.
Every fighter is looking for that lucky Matt Serra opportunity.
Yes. That was a deep cut. They don't know who Matt Serra is.
They know. You guys know.
In addition to their lack of ability to ambush, centipedes also have such a low intelligence stat that fairly rudimentary stealth tactics, things like basic camouflage and hiding behind are highly effective against them, and can cause an aggressive centipede to completely miss their opportunity to attack as they run right past you. It's worth noting that one subclass of centipedes does have the compound eyes perk, and also sports an even higher base movement speed, one of the fastest in the entire arthropod faction. But these centipedes, called house centipedes, have much lower damage output and defense stats.
They're called what?
And mostly just
the house centipedes.
They're called what?
They're good to have in the house because they eat other bugs.
No.
And they come up to your ear and they whisper cute things. I really like your toes.
Keep your ass out my house. You not my house centipede.
They're friendly bugs.
House centipedes have much lower damage output and defense stats, and mostly just prey on low-tier insects like silverfish and crickets. Even in their own niche of rush-down arthropod builds, centipedes have been power-crept by the Slovakia, also known as the sun spider or camel spider, which is significantly faster on foot, and although it isn't venomous, the raw damage this thing can put out absolutely shreds anything caught in its path. The sun spider definitely deserves its own video though, so I'll save further analysis for later.
Okay.
Switching over to millipedes, things still aren't great, but they do fare a bit better. Millipedes are highly resistant to enemy attacks, there's no denying that. Few builds in the game are better equipped to tank a ton of hits from an onslaught of attackers. However, the millipede's main method of deterring predators, its toxin, is pretty underwhelming. It doesn't deal damage quick enough to really deter persistent predators, at least within the insect faction. Most arthropods have solid poison resistance stats, so these types of toxins tend to really only make a difference against bird, amphibian, and rodent mains. If millipedes could spec into a more potent chemical defense, similar to the bombardier beetle, they might be a bit more dangerous to attack. but as it stands, assuming you can handle a small amount of poison damage, it can be worth it to continue attacking and fishing for a crit.
Right.
Because even the millipede's armor isn't completely invincible.
Oh.
This weakness at least doesn't impede their primary objective, as even though they have just as terrible of eyesight as centipedes, or potentially even worse in the case of some, this doesn't stop them from easily finding the moss and detritus that they need to live on.
Oh!
In addition, some millipedes do opt for a different style of defense, with barbed bristles that are highly effective at deterring
That's
ants.
actually pretty dope.
This is less
Like a
effective against
Pokemon.
birds and rodents, but much better against other arthropods.
Okay.
Right, he cut all that friendly music off instantly. He cut all that nice shit off. They die to birds.
Both have counterplay, millipedes have options when it comes to adapting to their local meta. One major area I think both centipedes and millipedes could improve in is making better use of their abundance of legs.
What do you want them
Centipedes
to
have
do?
only 2 modified pairs of limbs.
I don't
Their
know.
front legs, which have been modified into fangs, and their back legs, which have been modified into antennae.
Uh-huh.
That
So-
still leaves several dozen other legs that they could probably afford to convert into more useful appendages.
Like what?
Having similar jaw-like legs on their back end would
Ooh,
synergize
okay.
well with their auto-mimicry ability,
That'd be actually
and
pretty
make
dope.
it so that there's no end you could attack safely.
Right.
And for the millipede, although they aren't as combat-focused, I think they would still benefit from speccing into some other utility options.
Thumbs. just little thumbs.
Each appendage also has an appendage.
He could give you little handshakes.
If they lose the thumb war on one leg, they're winning it on
They
the
got
other.
the other, yep. Arm wrestling, very effective. You got a thumb to lock the hand in.
Like, for example, fossorial legs to allow them to dig underground.
Ooh.
They have a lot of options, but right now, I genuinely think that myriapods are barely managing to do with dozens of legs what most arthropods do with only a few. Ultimately, I do think both builds have been massively power crept and cannot justify putting them any higher than the low tiers.
Okay.
Terrifying as the centipede may be,
Right.
I actually think it fares even worse than the scorpion, given how
Damn.
simple and easily
I know.
countered its game plan is once you know the matchup. They're going firmly in F tier. Millipedes do fare better for sure, as their tanky, toxic defensive strategy
Okay, so
is
they're
tricky
going
to
B
overcome.
tier.
But with the right strategy or with a significant size advantage, millipedes present
Damn.
very little challenge. In addition, poisonous millipedes suffer from their own success in that some higher intelligence builds, like lemurs and monkeys,
Yeah, they use them.
actually deliberately
pest
trigger their
control,
toxic
yeah.
defense ability,
Yeah.
and then rub the toxin on their fur to gain a temporary bug repellent buff,
Wow.
before either discarding or eating the millipede. So, while I think you could definitely make the argument that they at least make it out of F tier and belong in D tier,
Right.
I don't think they belong any higher than that.
Okay.
Whether
Okay.
you want to play as a fast-moving damage dealer or a slow toxic tank, there are much better options available to you than centipedes or millipedes.
All right.
Myriapods simply have too many gaps in their defense, both in their physical armor and their game plan overall.
Right.
You can be as careful as possible, but if your defenses have obvious exploits, you'll always be vulnerable.
So does
That
that
was
mean that he
disgusting.
took into account how they look because they don't really look that cool? Or did it mean he totally ignored it because they look freaking awesome?
I feel like he didn't really acknowledge it. He
Mhm.
never talked about how cool they look. He
No.
only talked about how they looked in relation to its utility.
Ah, man, just know we're watching, all right? Second you break, I'll be there to see it. So what is one thing you learned new about millipedes and or centipedes?
Well, one, that it's not just the number of feet that makes them different.
It's how you use them.
No, it's literally. I'm serious. That is
Yeah.
not. I used to think it was just the number of feet that like separated centipedes from millipedes.
Yeah.
But it's also like how they're structured and stuff like that.
I thought that millipedes did vary how fast they ran.
Right.
I didn't know they basically just got to top speed and were like, I'm coasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like a lot of predators, they just like kind of jump out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They're like, that's my only speed.
This was good. This was a really good video. It wasn't. I don't know if I'm just becoming desensitized because of all the bug content
Yeah.
you have me watch.
That's definitely happening.
But it wasn't as horrifying as I thought it was going to be. It
Mhm.
wasn't quite as terrible. Also, maybe because I know like I'm never going to see one in my house.
Well, yeah, we live in Vegas, dude. It's way too dry out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it just wasn't as bad as like a spider video.
They're awesome. They're undeniably very cool. Millipedes just walk around, milling around. I thought they both ate things, like live bugs
Yeah.
and plants.
Yeah.
But it seems like millipedes eat like bugs.
Yeah.
Centipedes eat plants.
Millipedes would definitely let you know that they're vegan.
Right. I'm just here to hang out, guys.
Can't eat that. Oh, does that have cheese on it? Oh, I can't have that. My bad. Oh, was this made with honey? Oh, I can't eat that.
And then leave it a snail's-like pace. All right. Bye-bye.
All right, we're out of here. No, I tried to come up with something. Centipede on you later.